Team ETB here. My name is Connor. I'll be hosting it with my captain, Dylan Wagner, and Francesco. Dylan will be talking about the Flesh-eater Court book that just came out, and Franny's going to be talking about the Nighthaunt book. We'll be going over some of the major changes and things like that, and then we'll just get right into it, and Francesco will start talking about the Nighthaunt.
Okay, so Nighthaunt. Everything's rewritten essentially from the ground up. This isn't just a simple rules change. The army plays completely different. The Nighthaunt that we used to know, which was super quick, absolute blenders, and putting a bunch of debuffs on the charge, that's gone now. Nighthaunt now, still super mobile, but complete tar pits with a ton of health. 2 health doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a really, really big increase.
So a lot of people were concerned with the initial point leak and things like that, seeing things like the Grimghast Reapers and the Bladegeist Revenants go up. They went about 60 points or something like that. So everyone saw that as like 10-man unit with a 6-up, 5-up, 20 wounds. Doesn't sound a lot. You now have 1 or 2 games under your belt with a new book. What do you think in terms of survivability? Do you find that they're more survivable than they used to be?
Yeah, so I was on the fence of panic and freaking out. I saw these points changes and I was like, okay, everything's ruined. We can't take any ghosts. But basic infantry, so Bladegeists and the Grimghast, going up to 2 wounds is huge. The saves now, we're up at 6-up save ethereal, but everything in the army is base 5-up ward, which is huge. I would say survivability is way, way better than before.
And another quick thing I wanted to talk about was before you mentioned it at the beginning how Nighthaunt were like very aggro in your face turn 1 generally.
Yeah.
A super common combo that we saw a lot with Nighthaunt was Alrock the Drowner, whatever his name is, Canoe Boy, and he would teleport with the unit of Bladegeist. What do his new rules look like? You have the book in front of you, so you can just pull it up, but because he changed a lot, did he not?
Yeah, so he didn't, okay. Theoretically, his scroll looks a lot better. So before he would do his teleport, get stuck into combat, and then that was really it. But his biggest thing was getting into combat and getting that strike's last debuff because he would charge. Since that's gone, his like utility's still there, but I think with the way the army plays, he's less valuable. At the end of any turn, though, he can use his movement to get out of combat on a 3-up. I still think it's good, but I think with the way I've been playing the army at the very least, you don't really need him anymore. I wouldn't be full sending turn 1. If anything, I've been deploying with a pretty big castle and just moving up onto points to set myself up. I haven't gone in deep first turn yet. I don't think that's the way the army wants to be played.
So it definitely seems quite the opposite of what we're used to seeing from Nighthaunt. So let's change gears a bit then, and we'll start talking about the Flesh-eater Court a little bit. So Dylan, we'll leave that off with you. I guess one quick thing we can talk about, or like to start the conversation, is Nighthaunt, last book, all we ever saw was Usharon, followed up with some more Beg, and that was like the competitive list. And so how do you feel about Usharon now?
So Usharon is, I don't think he's an auto-include anymore. I'd still play him. He's good. His delusion adds a lot. We'll come back to the delusions later. He's still tanky. He's a good piece to have. He's a wizard too. But I feel like you could also sub in a lot of smaller heroes for their additional delusions abilities and things that you can do with them. 100% still something that I will play. But it's not a necessity. We won't see him in every single list that comes out now. Again, kind of like the Nighthaunt, we got a bit of a rework. No more noble D points. That was, thank God those are gone. And now we have delusions, which I think plays a lot more into the lore. We've got 2 base delusions in the book, and we've got War Scroll delusions on a bunch of the heroes, which give us different abilities at the start of every turn. We've still got a lot of recursion, so we're not summoning with the noble deed points anymore. We now just have muster guard in the movement phase, and for a command point, we can bring half a unit back off a hero, each hero in the army. So we're still lots of bodies, still lots of things in. I think Crypt Guard we're going to see a lot more of rather than Moorbag Span.
Yeah, the Crypt Guard just seems so good with the anti-charge and then the
Yeah.
fight first on a 3-up. Sure, they lose their ward save when they do it, but still just so good. So many attacks. It's just
Yeah.
Crypt Guard just seemed like an amazing
3
screen.
attacks each is
Yeah.
it's kind of nuts for a standard weenie unit.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess the Moorbag did get that nice pseudo power through at the end of your opponent's turn to kind of set you up for your following turn, but they might fill a completely different role than just like especially since they're not as tanky as they were before with
Yeah.
Usharon losing his +1 to save ability.
I
But-
feel like we'll see a lot less Moorbag spam.
Yeah.
And other things like the Beast Flayers unit, again, won't be an auto-include anymore. They're not quite as good. We'll probably start seeing that Gore Warden coming in with Flayers. They've got a lot of maneuverability now. Movement from the throne, movement from the Infernal, and then dropping in with the Gore Warden just makes them really
shooting,
powerful.
Charging,
Yeah.
they got it all.
Yeah.
Even just the basic crypt horrors, is that what the big boys are?
Yeah, the big
Yeah.
horrors are also still pretty
Those
good.
ones seem super
So we'll see a lot of different bodies on the board, I think, with Flesh-eater Courts going forward. It won't just be Usharan and Knights.
Francesco, is there anything that you feel is an auto-include in the new Nighthaunt coming up? Besides
Yeah.
Firegeist? 'Cause I don't feel like talking about Warcry units.
Yeah, I think Lady O is a lot better than she used to be.
A lot more survivable, that's for sure.
Yeah, before Lady O, you really had to tiptoe around her, and she could die super, super easy. Now she's a lot more survivable. Having a 2-up wizard that ignores hits and wounds on anything but a 5/6 is great. She can be super survivable now, and I think that's generally the theme with the army. So I actually want to double back on a couple of the other changes. So before Ethereal was no modifiers to your save
right,
at
yeah.
all. Now, okay, everything is up to either a 5-up save if you're a hero or a black coach, or a 6-up save if you're infantry, but you can get positively affected by that. So you can get all-out defense now to make something that is going to take a huge hit even more survivable. So
And
yeah,
you're not punished for all-out attack as well.
which is crazy.
Super strong.
Yeah, so yeah, in saying that, Lady O I think is super strong. I think Blade Geists are always going to be super strong now too.
They serve a much different purpose. though.
Yeah, so before we all knew them as, like I said before, those blenders.
Just
going
came through.
in like 60 attacks, buffed up 2s and 2s, crazy. Now, when you look at a Blade Geist, they're more of a defensive piece. I've been running 2 units of 10 not reinforced units. What they do now is they force your opponent when they want to charge in. They need, no matter what, a 7-up in order to end within half an inch.
There are like tricks and stuff you can do to get around it, utilizing terrain and other units, but
For sure.
it is still a super good screen unit who still packs a decent punch, being 2 attacks, 3s with the crit auto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, though, that goes with the rest of the theme. They are not hitting, they're not damaging like crazy, but they're going to sit there, they're going to make it hard for your opponent to get in, and then once they're in, they're going to live, which is nice.
Yeah, those Grimghast Reapers were hard to lift in our game.
Yeah,
That was-
Reapers too.
That hurt.
Everything being on 2 wounds, essentially.
Makes a huge difference.
It's huge, yeah. Especially being able to all-out defense, still being ethereal, a 20 block lived the entire game.
Yeah.
With the recursion that we have with the army.
So much recursion.
And that's another thing about Lady O as well. Having her once per game D3+3 coming back is massive. If a unit starts dipping, pop that, you're getting at least 2 models back. Plus your awful refashioning from the terrain.
Board wide as well for Lady O.
Yeah, it's super strong. Again, the theme here is tar pit, survive, and then just essentially going wherever you want.
Well, let's talk about the new units that came out in the books then. We can start with Dylan talking about his little Peter Pan fedora guy.
Sir Felgrin, the Falconer, with his little bat. Yeah, actually, I think he's kind of a useful unit. His delusion that he adds to it is a -10 to control score. which is kind of nice, and it works with the surf spam, which you're going to be using with a lot of the crypt card. And as an attacker, he's got a fairly mid-range kind of set. He's got a shooting attack that's 4s and 4s, no rend, but it does a lot of damage. I think it was 3, 4.
Yeah, he hit pretty hard.
And then this claw attacks, again, not anything to write home about, but he can hold his own. I feel like he'll be good to put on the throne.
Yeah.
Just hanging back. Also maybe surrounded by crypt guards, kind of like the way you'd run the Decapitator.
Yeah.
He's also a really neat piece. I enjoyed painting him. Unintentionally painted him as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we found out after the fact that he very much, with his little fedora, ended up looking like that.
So the main ability he has is he takes away ward saves, right? Is that what
Crack
he
this
does?
book here.
So strong.
Get his exact stats out for you.
Yeah. That set of Falcon tokens was haunting Blade Geist all game. It was nuts.
So yeah, his token that he puts out is an enemy unit within 18.
Visible or not visible?
Pick an enemy unit within 18 of this unit, not in combat,
Nice.
to be the target. Yeah.
So
And you place the target next to it, and then while it's next to the enemy unit, ward rolls cannot be made for damage points inflicted on that enemy unit by combat attacks made by friendly surf units.
so good.
Yeah.
Especially into Nighthaunt. Let me tell you, that was nuts.
Yeah, and with the combination of his delusion, where subtract 10 from control scores from enemy units while they're in combat with any friendly surf units, or non-hero Flesh-eater Court monsters and beasts, which might also work in the menagerie list.
Considering how good the Aberrant Ghoul King on Terrorgeist is, I feel like those two could work really well together.
I'm very impressed that the Terrorgeist is back to its reign of supremacy that it had in 2nd edition.
With buffs and things like that, the prayer for +1 damage.
Absolutely.
Like, the dude can
So
just
cool.
go in hard.
The fact
Yeah.
that almost all of the buffs that we get affect our companion weapons as well
Yes.
leads me to believe that Terrorgeists will also be way up there. More Big Knights, again, still pretty good. The Shriekers are definitely where the damage output comes on that unit. But I'd like to see some Abhorrent Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeists back in the lists.
All right, Franny, tell us about your little alchemist.
Okay, so maybe a hot take. Don't know if he's gonna make it in the list coming through.
No, that's fair. His ability's kind of random.
He's super cool. He's incredibly thematic. The model was a joy to paint, but his ability is super random and behind a 3-up.
Yep.
So for anybody that doesn't know how it works, he has a list of 6 abilities that he can pick from. I think the best is actually just removing wards.
Yep.
But he has abilities for priests, he has ability for wizards, removing chanting points.
But it's all 10 inches is the issue.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to be that close.
Yeah, so on a 3-up, you can pick from that table of 6, or you can YOLO it, roll 2 dice and kind of pray. I don't know a time when that's going to be a good idea, just because everything is so specific. But having the specific one that you want to pick behind a 3 isn't super great. It went off no times in the both games that I played. And he sits in a really interesting point slot. He's at 120 points right now. A lot of different heroes are 120 points. I think moving forward, as much as I do love him and I want to bring him, I think that's going to open up for another hero slot. That I could either try to fit in a Cruel Ghast, which I think is super important for the way this army plays now. Removing 1 point of damage per phase is huge. Maybe even bringing a Knight of Shrouds to increase the hit and sequence. I just think there's other pieces that fill that slot a bit better. In saying that though, I'm glad I got to test him out for these couple games because he is just that cool.
Do you think you're going to be going more for a high drop army or a low drop army regiment wise?
I think I'm still going to be going higher drop. I think controlling the double and controlling turn sequence is still going to be super strong, especially when you're setting up earlier in the game. I think you're less at risk of the double, but if somebody lines something up really, really well, I think controlling that is important. Right now, the list I've been running for the last 2 games has been 4 drops. and it served me pretty well. And I think I'm gonna keep trying around that 4 or 5 drop territory.
What about you, Dylan? What do you think?
I feel like it's going to depend on what gets run for the Flesh-eater Courts, because in one hand you could do a really super elite list where you'd probably end up with more drops, or you could go into a really compressed ghoul spam kind of list where we're going to have a lot of crypt guard units where you can slam 2-3 into an Usheron regiment and then have a decapitator have 2 other groups of them. I'm interested to see where a lot of the higher tier players that are definitely better at Flesh-eater Courts than I am, to see where they go with their lists. And then once we have some more testing, I think I can make a decision on my own where I want to go with that. I'm leaning towards probably more drops, because I don't really care. I'm not trying to be up in your face on turn 1 and deciding whether I'm going to get the double, so we'll see where we go.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys wanted to talk about then before we close this thing out?
Yeah, so last thing I want to touch on for Nighthaunt, again, going into Playstyle, is just how mobile they are right now.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you how you found the Quicksilver formation costing 40 points.
Yeah, okay, so again, initial thoughts were, oh my god, 40 points is a lot of points. Both games, though, it's been really clutch. Being able to move a unit out of combat and into combat again, plus D6 onto their movement, has been really good.
Just so far.
Yeah, so I've been leaning into a tar pit, but like still hyper-mobile list. The other thing that's changed for them, we don't need a CP for Discorporate anymore. Everything has a 5-up ward base. So having a CP for a teleport, having the Quicksilver Ghost hyper-mobility there, and being able to either retreat or base move a unit in everybody's hero phase on a spell is cracked. The mobility is insane. I think that's the thing that surprised me the most. Being able to tangle up an opponent for the first 2 turns and then essentially be wherever you want the whole game with the rest of your army is, I think, where Nighthaunt's strength really lies right now. They're like a really quick kind of Nurgle type playstyle right now, which is weird to say.
Fast Nurgle.
Yeah, with KO mobility and Nurgle tar pitting,
Yeah.
I think we'll see Nighthaunt increase their win rate quite substantially.
I hope so, but to be fair, again, the damage isn't crazy right now. I don't ever really feel confident committing a unit and thinking, okay, that unit's gone. I really have to overcommit now.
Yeah, besides like the black coach, you don't really have too many high damage dealers.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks for doing this for us, guys, and I guess that'll be everything. We'll hopefully have a battle report released soon between Nighthaunt and Flesh-eater Court once we get the armies painted up. And then most likely the one you'll see soon is Caradron Overlords versus Slaves to Darkness. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Bye.